Well, I'm in an emotional wreck. Peacemaker episode 7 absolutely destroyed me. John Cena just gave his most emotional performance yet. The writing was incredible in that ending. Guys, I don't even know how to process it, but let's try to talk about it. Hey everybody, my name is Troy. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to review episode 7 of season 2 of Peacemaker that came out tonight. And again, I'm just a mess after that. Holy crap. The episode was so fast paced. It was only 33 minutes. I think the shortest of the season so far. But it was go, go, go. It was emotional. It was thrilling. There was so much going on in this episode. And I didn't think after last week they could top it. But again, they just continue to just build on each episode. And we're in a really good place right now in the quality of what's going on because this show is just elevated week after week. This episode jumps right in, picks up after last week. We see the crew get found out that they're not supposed to be here, that something's up, and we see them fight and flee and try to get out of there. I think at the top, some things I really enjoyed from this episode were the kind of the fun bits. It was really funny. This episode was really funny, especially at the top when they kind of reveal that all of these signs have been in front of Chris the entire time, and he just completely missed them. Like the books that were there, the mural on the wall, and even he pokes fun at the fact that he completely overlooked what was going on. And so just some really funny moments throughout the episode, especially when we got some other character interactions like Adebayo and JudoMaster, which shout out my boy, he's good. But just even their interactions of playing the games and talking about the world itself and just making jokes. A lot of fun was in this episode and a lot of funny moments. But the episode again really focuses on them trying to flee this dimension, trying to get back home, and the battle that ensues with different various organizations trying to stop them. And it was just so well written. Again, I think this might be James's best written episode this season. Again, it was so fast paced, but the writing was so tight. And all of the dialogue was so incredibly meaningful. I mean, if you think about the conversation that Adebayo had with JudoMaster and just them sharing some of the struggles of what's going on in their lives and how that relates to their own environment and how even back home they want things to be better than what they probably actually are. And then later conversations that we saw with specifically highlighting the big emotional conversation with Keith and Augie and Chris and Harcourt and Economos in that kitchen scene when John Cena, who just gives an absolute masterclass tonight. He gives a masterclass of performance tonight. This is his strongest episode. I think, in my opinion, he should be considered for an Emmy nomination for next year because he is that good. He's been that good this season, but this episode is by far his strongest. And when he tells them of when they're pressing him, why did you come back? Why did you come back? And he's like, I wanted to know what it felt like to have a family. Broke me. That was so incredibly moving. It broke me. And even then, when Harcourt calls Augie a Nazi and he takes offense to that, he gets into this monologue of disagreeing with what's going on in his world, that he didn't cause the problems, and he tries to fight the ones that are in front of him. Again, was just so good. And then broken up by a just crazy moment when Vigilante comes in, or one of the Vigilante comes in and kills him in front of Keith, and just again, just an insane moment that happened there. But I was just so blown away by all of the emotional scenes throughout this episode. The writing was so good, the acting, the delivery was so good. Again, just its strongest episode so far this season, easily. Which I said that last week, but again, this show continues to just thrive and progress in such a fantastic way. It was good to see JudoMaster kind of have this redemption arc of sorts. I think he's been a character that a lot of people have liked, but he's been a little thorn in the side of the 11th Street kids, but have him be real, share some of those things with Adebayo, and then also save her. That was an incredible moment when he came in, because again, I was so scared what was going on with him. I thought maybe he'd been captured, but coming into the rescue and having this absolutely unhinged moment of electrifying everybody in that pool was wild, and his reaction to that was wild, and saying that that was the most people he's ever killed in that way, and he's done it previously. Again, just a really good redemption for him. And even at the end of this episode as well, when he covers for Chris and them and lies this just to protect them all. And so I'm really curious to see what his role is going to be in this show, in this world going forward. If he kind of leaves Argus and them and kind of joins the 11th Street Kids, I could totally see that happening, and I kind of want it to happen. The big part of this episode is once again the ending, and I think for two reasons. One is that obviously Chris is taken into custody. They're stopped. He surrenders the device that opens the QUC. He's taken into the custody. We absolutely have no idea what's going to happen next. We don't, truthfully, and I love that, we don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know, we've seen in previous trailer footage that the Argus troops go inside the QUC, because so obviously there's some sort of agenda there they have after getting to this equipment. And so it's going to be really interesting what that purpose is, and I think that's what we're going to spend a lot of the finale exploring, is what their mission is, why they want to get into it so bad, and how that could set up what's coming in the future of the DCU, specifically Man of Tomorrow. The other big thing that is left lingering in this penultimate episode is that Keith survives. And we see Harcourt, try to take him out. She even says to him, I'm sorry, but I can't have you coming after him. And she's thwarted in that by the police showing up, and Vigilante kicks them out and closes the door. And we see Keith in the back of the ambulance being worked on, taken to the hospital. And so he survives. What role could he have in the finale? What role could he have maybe continuing on in Peacemaker's story if there is a season 3 or so forth? And so I'm curious to see how that resolves, because obviously it was very intentional having that scene play out that way and having him stick around, having him survive. And so I think he's going to have some level of impact on what happens next week. Could we see him redeem himself as well too? Because obviously he's pretty upset. He found out his real brother died. His dad was just killed in front of him. His entire world is shattered. Right? And so what happens next? And so I'm really curious to see what they have in store for Keith. But the show continues to do such a fantastic job of making these characters feel real and layered. That was one thing I really wanted going into season 2, was not only with Peacemaker and giving me more reason to root for him, but the rest of these characters as well. And they've developed so great in season 2. And that's what you really want to see when a show continues from season 1 to season 2, is character development. And they've just really nailed this. James has really nailed this in writing these characters in a way that makes you feel what they're feeling, root for them, want to see them succeed. And then when you have these big emotional moments like John Cena did at the end of this episode, when he cries over Keith, begs him to stop him and says, "It's me, I'm the problem, it's not my world, it's not this world, it's me," was just devastating. Again, it broke me to see him do that. John gave again, I'm going to say this again, just an incredible performance in this episode that made you feel what he was feeling. And so I just really appreciate how they've treated these characters over the course of these 7 episodes. I'm glad no one was hurt this week. I'm still not confident that we're going to have that happen next week. I still think there's this big death coming that's going to just destroy us even further. But setting up the finale next week, this episode was so great. It was so strong. I'm honestly still reeling, and just trying to gather my thoughts for this has been a lot too, because there's so many different theories running through my head of what could happen next week. But I'm really curious to hear yours. Drop a comment below. What do you think is going to happen in the finale? How is this going to set up Man of Tomorrow and other future projects in the DCU? I'm really curious to know your thoughts as well. I think for me, I don't think this is the last that we've seen of Lex and his crew. Sidney, popped up in this episode as well as helping them locate the device for the QUC. And I thought it was really interesting, a really interesting moment when he asked Rick Flag Sr., "Hey, what's in this for me? Why should I do this?" And Rick uses Lex as a reasoning, like, "Hey, I can go back and tell your boy that you didn't come through for us." And Sidney immediately flips and says, "I was just asking." And so it's really interesting to me that despite the probably different locations of prisons that they're in, that there is this hard loyalty that he has towards Lex still. And despite the fact that there's probably nothing that Lex can do in this moment, that he's still willing to help out just by the mention of Lex's name and saying, "Hey, Lex told me you're going to do this. Do you really want me to go back and say that you didn't?" And so I think that we as the audience need to really focus on that, because I think that is going to have an impact again, and not only what could happen next week, but as in Lex's arc in Man of Tomorrow and going forward in the DCU, as we know he's going to be a big role in that. But again, drop your theories below. Really curious to know how you think this is going to end this week. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe for more content, guys, and thanks for tuning in.